Global history is made up of many unexpected events and situations. Not all of them affect every country, but epidemics are important. It had a huge impact on human lives throughout history. As we now face a global epidemic, namely COVID-19, it would be useful to know what happened in the past and how our ancestors faced those epidemics as a global challenge. Athens. The oldest known epidemic occurred during the Peloponnesian War. As the disease spread through Libya, Ethiopia, and Egypt, it crossed the Athenian walls during the siege by the Spartans. About 2/3 of the population died. Symptoms include fever, thirst, bloody throat and tongue, red skin and sores. The disease, suspected to be typhoid fever, significantly weakened the Athenians and was a significant factor in their defeat by the Spartans. Antonine plague. Plague occurred in 165 AD and lasted until 180 AD. The Antonine epidemic, also known as the Galen epidemic, affected Egypt, Greece, Asia, and Italy. Outbreaks appear to be an early version of smallpox or measles, which began with Huns. The Huns infected the Germans, which infected the Romans. The cause of the disease is unknown, but symptoms include fever, sore throat, and diarrhea. The epidemic has killed more than 5 million people. Cyprian plague. Named after the Christian bishop in Carthage, the Cyprian epidemic caused diarrhea, vomiting, sore throats, fever, and gangrenous hand and foot. The townspeople fled the country to escape the infection, but instead, the disease continued to spread. It started in Ethiopia and traveled through North Africa to Rome, then to Egypt, and then to the north. Over the next 3 centuries, there were recurring outbreaks. In 444 AD, it invaded Britain, thwarting defensive efforts against the Picts and Scots, and caused the British to ask the help of Saxons, who ruled the island. Plague of Justinian. During the reign of Emperor Justinian I, one of the worst outbreaks of the plague spread like wildfire, killing tens of millions of people. Between 13% and 51% of the world's population was affected by the Justinian plague, and there were multiple uprisings until 2 centuries later when it became inactive again. The plague arrived in Constantinople in 542 AD, about a year after the disease first appeared in the outlying areas of the empire. The plague continued for another 225 years throughout the Mediterranean world, eventually appearing from time to time. Finally, it disappeared in 750. Some historians speculate that this plague could be the last problem that stretches endurance beyond the limit in the Dark Ages. On the bright side, others point out that it could be a precursor of the end of slavery in the Byzantine Empire. Because of the shortage of workers, they can leverage their work for freedom. Leprosy. Although it lasted a long time, leprosy developed into a plague in medieval Europe, and its ultimate goal was to build a large number of leprosy-centric hospitals to accommodate large numbers of victims. Leprosy, a slow-growing bacterial disease that causes sores and deformities, was believed to be a punishment from God that runs in families. This belief led to moral judgments and the expulsion of victims. It is now known as Hansen's disease and still afflicts tens of thousands of people a year and can be fatal if not treated with antibiotics. The Black Death, the most fatal catastrophe of the history, from 1346 to 1353, the bubonic plague became dreadful, with deaths ranging from 75 million to 200 million. Black Death accounted for 1/3 of the world's population. The emergence of the Black Death came from Asia, which further destroyed Europe and Africa. The plague certainly resided regularly on merchant ships through fleas and rats that lived on the main ship. The harbor was a major urban center and a breeding ground for rodents and fleas, and in this way, the guileful bacterium thrived and later destroyed 3 continents. Between 1346 and 1353, the plague devastated more than any other known incident. The Columbian Exchange. After the arrival of the Spaniards in the Caribbean, the Europeans passed on diseases such as smallpox, measles, and bubonic plague to the natives. Without prior exposure, the disease wiped out the Aborigines, killing about 90% of the population on the northern and southern continents. When Christopher Columbus arrived on the island of Hispaniola, he met the people of Taino. The population at that time was about 60,000. By 1548, the population was less than 500. This situation was repeated throughout America. In 1520, a smallpox epidemic destroyed the Aztec Empire. The disease killed many of its victims and failed others. As a result, the population was weakened and they were unable to oppose the Spanish colonialists and produce the crops that the peasants wanted. The Great Plague of London. In another devastating appearance, the bubonic plague killed 20% of London's population. With the increase in human deaths and the discovery of mass graves, hundreds of thousands of cats and dogs have been killed as the disease spreads along harbors around the Thames through